Hello, everyone. Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Okay. Well, this is it. This is everything, so to speak. What is an apparent body sitting on a chair, listening, breathing, talking, whatever, is just what appears to be happening. And it's just naturally whole and complete, exactly as it is. So nothing could be or needs to be added to it or taken away. Just not possible for it to become more whole and complete. So, of course, I mean, there isn't an actual message, of course. What appears to be happening is just talking on Zoom. Apparent bodies talking on Zoom. So there's nothing that's being pointed to, nothing that needs to be realized or recognized or even could be realized or recognized. So what is being suggested is, of course, totally indescribable. Nothing, no words or phrase or anything could encapsulate what sitting on Zoom, appearing to sit on Zoom is or is like. And so, of course, that's, it just is what it is in that sense. But this apparent experience seems to arise that this is happening to me. That I'm a real person, I'm a real individual, and that sitting on Zoom is happening to me. That this is me, my life, my experience, my awareness, my happiness, my sadness, whatever. And of course, the apparent suggestion is just that this is an illusion. That there just is no one that this could possibly happen to or appear to happen to. There just is no one. There's no one inside the body. There's no one outside of the body. There's no one or nothing behind this, bigger than this, smaller than this, creating this, destroying this. This is it, so to speak, just what appears to be happening. Okay, well, yeah, anyone can feel free to comment, to ask a question. That's absolutely fine. Or we can also just sit here quietly. That's also fine. So yeah, let's see what happens today.
Morning.
Hello.
Hello, is it? Hello, Izzy.
Hiya.
Today, I'd like for you to go a little bit into human knowledge. I know it's a relative thing, but do you think that for after 100 years, maybe 1,000 years of human knowledge, when humans keep collecting information, will it get closer to this reality, this truth, let's say? Or do you think it is fundamentally mistaken to go into human knowledge when you're talking about this topic?
Well, of course, this isn't talking about anything. So there is no reality, so to speak, or anything that this is pointing to, a reality or otherwise, or a truth, or I mean, all of these ideas are just simply ideas. So this apparent knowledge or apparent developments in science or philosophy or whatever, all these so-called fields are just what appears to be happening. So, of course, what is being suggested here is not anything, literally, in that sense, nothing. So, I mean, of course, not literally, but all that's being suggested is that this is it. Apparent knowledge, apparent developments in science, whatever field, is just all there is. So, of course not. There's no path to getting anywhere. So nothing is sort of slowly being understood or revealed, or that these new apparent discoveries are finally going to uncover this truth. Things in neuroscience, psychology are finally going to get to what this is saying. No, of course not. No. The apparent psychology, apparent discoveries in neuroscience are just what appears to be happening. Already just totally boundless energy, just totally already to, by, and for no one.
And what do you think about those like LSD experiences when people take drugs or DMT? Are they just experiences?
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Someone taking psychedelics and claiming to there is no one, or there was a death experience or whatever it is. Oh, yeah, of course. That's just what appears to be happening. An apparent body saying, I took this and this seemed to happen. Yeah. I mean, my understanding with things like psychedelics is that there seems to still be an awareness, one could say, or a sense that someone who is tripping or whatever, this is happening to me, even if it feels as if a me is dying or whatever, or someone feels as if they're dying. There still seems to be this sense of a happening or an awareness, one could say. I mean, I don't know at the end of the day, but from these apparent reports that people seem to have it, and then obviously people then claim, oh, I took this happened to me, or whatever. But yeah, of course, there's already no one taking psychedelics. There's no one having a trip, whatever. Yeah, there's already no one. So it's just another experience, of course, just like going to the shops.
Hi, Izzy.
Hiya.
I just want to ask a quick question here. Sorry, I'm on the move. You say that you were saying that the separateness is all illusion, and then on the other hand, you say there is no illusion. Can you just, maybe I asked that before, but it's just if you could unpack that slightly.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, of course, there is no separation. So, I mean, even saying this, one could say sounds funny because, of course, this phrase, there is no one or there is no separation, just seems to come as a response, one could say, to something that says, I feel separate or I am separate. And then there's just an apparent Izzy saying, well, there just is no separation. So one could then say this so-called separation that seems to be claimed could then be said to be an illusion or a dream or something like this. But of course, the apparent person then seems to interpret this as there being an actual illusion or an actual dream, and that once the dream is over, once the illusion collapses, then there will be no one, or then there will just be this or whatever. But of course, the funny thing is there is no illusion to start with. So of course, even saying that separation is an illusion or apparent separation an illusion is just already, one could say, just, I mean, there is no separation. So one can't even say there's an illusion of separation, but this just seems to be the response to something that says, I feel separate.
So if there was an illusion or a dream, there would have to be someone who suffered under the illusion, or if there was a dream, there would have to be someone dreaming.
Exactly. If there were to be an actual dream or illusion, there would have to be an actual someone in the first place. Exactly. So it's an apparent illusion that never happens.
An apparent illusion that never happens. Okay. That's very clear.
Hopefully that's cleared it up.
Oh my God.
Exactly. I mean, and one could say in many ways that is the surprise, so to speak. I mean, when I was listening to this so-called message, there was always an expectation that it would be another happening, or something would have to happen, or, you know, the apparent person can seem to grasp in many ways, intellectually at least, that there is no one. There may have been glimpses or whatever, but then it still is strongly convinced that this apparent illusion must have to collapse or die or fall away or whatever it is. But the surprise in many ways, one could say, is that of course it just doesn't. Totally nothing happens, and it's revealed in the end, one could say, that there just never was anyone.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, my son's rummaging around here for his phone.
Oh, that's
my son who's he's lying in my bed with his phone.
Oh.
Oh my God. So everybody else should just sit still, but we have to have the family. But yeah, that would be the experience here. Is there's always sort of waiting for an event.
Exactly.
And it's during the week I was sort of thinking, oh well, what Kenneth Madden said to me last weekend, that's sort of wearing off now, as if there's something to wear off and someone who that would happen to. You know what I mean? The mind sort of seeps back into that conceptual idea of wanting something to happen, and it nearly happened. Maybe I should have go to someone, like go to Kenneth again, and all that. Sorry, bullshit.
Oh, totally. Yeah, exactly.
Just
becomes another game in that sense. Another thing to chase, or in that sense, yeah.
Yeah, another seeking or another quest.
Totally, yeah.
And it's almost like a perverse joke, isn't it? Really?
Well, of course, there's nothing wrong with this. So there's already no one that's doing that so-called seeking. But in a sense, one could say, yes, this apparent seeking mechanism just seems to be relentless and just totally, I mean, to even say inescapable doesn't make sense, because there's just no one who could or couldn't escape. But just this apparent seeking just seems to just thirsty for anything. I mean, it just seems to be how the setup works. So
Yeah. It's like a default.
exactly, there's just seeking, and it just just anything it can get its hands on, in that sense, a so-called glimpse, a feeling, anything, just to apparently avoid this so-called absence, which of course is just already this.
Yeah, it's strange that you say that, to avoid the absence, because it's kind of like you're seeking it in a way to avoid it.
One could say so. It seems funny in many ways, because one could say the apparent person seems to be longing for its absence or its death, but at the same time, that seems to be what it most fears. So, like you say, by longing for it, it seems to be avoiding it.
Yeah, but sort of by longing for it, it pushes it off into the future.
Exactly.
Some apparent future event, as you were saying.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah. And actually, that's a funny thing that I realized was I thought it was really great to listen to this message and thought that was getting me somewhere, but it was quite quickly, or not quickly, but quite suddenly realized, one could say, that actually chasing the message or trying to get something was just an avoidance, one could say, of this. Which of course isn't, because there is no one seeking. The apparent seeking is also this. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Gosh.
But of course, this can seem quite painful for the person, one could say, because the person doesn't seem to want it to just be sitting in a room on Zoom. Something about that just seems a little not exciting for the person that seems to constantly be chasing this sort of, as you say, this future thing, whatever it thinks that might be.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Okay, got one in the chat. Looking back at so-called experiences now, is it clear that experiences happen only to the body and not to anyone? Well, of course, in this sense that looking back, so to speak, there just is no, I mean, well, there is this someone that would even look back or kind of analyze experience in this sense, or analyze life in this way, is just dead. So there is no one that looks back, but I see what you mean. And of course, one could say that it's just obvious that there never has been anyone, yes, in that sense. So there's not this line of when there was someone, then I died, and now there is no one. No, this death, this apparent death, never happens or happened. So there's always been no one in that sense, or there's never been anyone, of course. So I mean, in the thing is with this question, one, experiences of course don't happen to the body. There are no experiences. So it's not that experiences not only don't happen to anyone, they also of course don't happen to the body. There just is no experience. But maybe to use another word, I mean, yeah, of course, the apparent body is just always been just doing what the apparent body does. There's always been no one. But yeah, this isn't clear to anyone. There's just no one who looks back and sees, oh, it's always been like this. This type of analysis just isn't there. I mean, it's just totally normal. So there's just no sort of looking back, oh, how interesting, and there was no one there then, and then I died, and then no, I mean, this one that would analyze in this way is dead. It's just full on life in this sense for no one. Things like trauma, shock, did they apparently happen to the body? One could say so, of course, yeah. Yeah, just totally normal. Apparent suffering, apparent sadness, happiness, so-called traumas, conditionings, whatever, just totally normal. Of course, a lot of these sorts of things seem to have softened, one could say, but yeah. Also in the chat, memory can come up without necessarily being about analysis. Of course, in this sense, but there's just no one who experiences memory or is aware of memory. It's just memories in that sense. Yeah, this additional artificial layer that never happens, the analysis, the analyzer. Yeah, just totally not there, never there, of course. So memory about what happened yesterday may arise, of course, just like apparent pain, emotion, excitement, whatever. I mean, this whole thing of sort of memory, it doesn't really seem to arise that often, one could say. There's sort of no, it just seems to have collapsed, really, this sort of, I mean, before, one could say this memory was more rumination, sort of going over the past, what could have been different, or worrying about the future, or whatever. Memory seems more like a practical function, one could say, the apparent body. To the body, one is asked, what did you do yesterday? And this apparent memory, I mean, it seems to not be very good here anymore. Because of course it's not important in this sense. As I say, it's just a practical function, just like drinking, eating, whatever. Okay, in the chat as well. Hi Izzy, what is the difference between this is just what's happening and the idea of creating our own reality? Well, of course there is no difference between anything. So the apparent suggestion is that this question is just what appears to be happening. And this apparent answer, body speaking, is just what appears to be happening. So that one could say is what the suggestion or the phrase, this is just what appears to be happening, is suggesting. But of course it doesn't mean anything. So there's no, this cannot and does not need to, of course, it just isn't possible for it to be understood, or it's not saying anything. It's just suggesting that this is what appears to be happening. Just sitting on Zoom. So of course, this idea of law of attraction or creating our own reality or manifestation is just a total illusion, of course. I mean, there is no reality, nor is there anyone who could create their own reality or a reality, or total illusion, of course. Yeah, it's just what appears to be happening. This idea that if I think certain thoughts or journal or do this manifestation technique, then my life, I mean, one could say the hope behind this seems to be that things will be okay, or I'll get what I want. If I manifest more money or a new relationship or whatever, happiness. It's just all it seems to be in this apparent dream of me. In the chat, memories come to remind us that a lion was sleeping there yesterday, so be careful today. Yeah, exactly. Practical memories, one could say, yeah. In the chat as well, this meeting is not about the words. Well, it's not about anything, of course. Yeah. So it's not about something beyond the words either. It's just what appears to be happening.
Hi, Izzy.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm just thinking then about emotional, in a way, physical memory of trauma can still, in a way, act out. That I'm thinking of, you know, if there's a lion, you watch out, and it's that can still act out in the way that you're always watching for danger. If you know, and I'm just thinking that obviously that's just what's being shared now as well, you know. It's just, it's so lovely. You're you know, it's just the sharing. Yeah. And there's wanting to cry and laugh at the same time. Yeah, and it's just sharing this. Apparent sharing, yeah.
Exactly, just an apparent conversation between friends, just totally just this.
Yeah. I think that there's a preference, there appears to be a preference. I was to say, I went out last night with friends and it to a love jam, all full of young dreamy people. Saying one, you know, in a circle, saying a word, and I just came up with cheeky. Because everybody was so spiritual and it wasn't my cup of tea, so I came back home and went on Emerson, you know, Zoom. It's like it seems to be a preference to just like no fairy tales and But again, it's just words being exchanged.
Oh, totally. I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
It can seem quite obvious, one can say, or it can be quite obviously heard that this is all there is. And then this sort of, as you say, this sort of so-called dreamlike thinking can just sort of seem so obviously empty in that sense, or just so obviously a story, which of course, as you say, is just what appears to be happening. But this sort of sense of actually being able to genuinely engage in that, or genuinely say, yes, you know, to be, as you say, to be spiritual, to be very serious about this sort of stuff, can just seem suddenly just totally just funny in a sense, just so not real.
Thank you anyway. Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello.
Hi. You know, it's like in this whatever happening, this is like this bubbling feeling in the body. And on the other hand, that's like a sleepiness, like the body would like to sleep. It's very strange.
I mean, one could say there can seem to be, I mean, of course, one could say what is being suggested is totally energetic, of course, in this sense. So there just can seem to be this energetic resonance, just this sort of unconditional yes, that isn't about the words or anything beyond the words, or it's not about anything. It just seems to be this indescribable energy, so to speak. I mean, there's not an actual energy, of course, but this can seem to produce lots of different sensations, one could say, in the body. So quite commonly, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. It's almost, it's almost, you can tell it feels like energy would be like moving, whatever, you know, like little, it's hard to say, it's hard to describe it.
Oh, I mean, it's totally indescribable, because of course there isn't even an it. So one could sort of say all these things, you know, but it's totally intangible. I'm not sure if that's the right word. It just cannot be described or grasped, because it isn't a thing, of course. It's just what appears to be happening. And energy seems like an okay word to try to describe it, but of course this has a lot of, you know, connotations in the sort of so-called spiritual world. But I mean, there seems to be these sensations quite commonly around the sort of chest or the head, where it can just feel like expansion, for want of a better word. But of course, the funny thing is, in the end, it's just obvious that this sorry, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, of course, the apparent person seem to think that this hopefully that's, yeah, that this so-called energy, or these so-called sensations, mean that there's something closer, or something's happening, or whatever. But of course, this is just another so-called experience, one could say, the person seems to feel it as. Yeah.
But if you look at it as a person, it's almost, you would say it's in the body. But if you just, you know, forget the body, whatever, it's just happening. It's just, you cannot tell what it is. It's just, it is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not happening to anyone. It's not even happening.
Yeah.
It's just again, what appears to be happening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Same.
Hey, in the chat, is there likes and dislikes? Of course, yeah. Yeah. Preferences, one could say, yeah. Just, I mean, no longer this sort of personal, there's no, of course, no sense, I like this, I don't like this. And there's no personal agenda behind the likes and dislikes, of course. I have to get what I like, I can't have what I disliked, whatever. Yeah, just totally natural for the apparent body of certain people too. Of course, yeah. Totally natural. I mean, of course, but this sort of, this, as I say, this additional artificial sense of having a preference that one knows about. I like this type of music, I like these types of people, and then searching for that or seeking for that. That whole system just totally seemed to collapse. But yeah, of course, totally normal. Izzy seems to get on with some people more than others. Seems to like certain hobbies more than others. Yeah. Okay, also in the chat, I have a recurring experience lately. In the middle of speaking, I lose belief and energetic association with what I'm saying. I'm witnessing the body and mind carrying on, and I believe none of it. Okay. Well, of course, yeah, there's just already no one experiencing that, so to speak. There is no experience of that. I mean, all the apparent person seems to have all sorts of experiences, so-called experiences, including these so-called out-of-body experiences where I become awareness, and I am the impartial, impersonal awareness, and then I'm witnessing my body and mind, or the body and mind then, and I am whatever. I mean, I am the space that holds it all of these very, you know, romantic stories about what I am and what I'm not then. So of course, there's just what appears to be happening, but the apparent suggestion is there's just no one doing that or not doing that already. This idea of I am awareness, I am not the body, I am not the mind, it's just totally impossible already. There is no I, whether it's a true I or a false I. There just is no one. I mean, this whole game begins of, are there 2 eyes, 3 eyes? There is no I at all. I've become to understand why this message is hopeless for the individual. For instance, when suffering happens, this message can help you none. Can't help you, but remind you that no one is suffering. I think that's what it means. One could say so, of course. The person seems to then turn this apparent message into just another therapy. I mean, I think I did that for sure. Like, you know, suffering arises, it's okay, there's no one. Reminding myself, it's okay, there's no one who's suffering, it's okay. But yeah, of course, this whole sort of having to repeat this apparent message in order to be okay or to remember there's no one. I mean, it's beyond hopeless for the individual. There is no individual for it even to be hopeless for. The ultimate hopelessness, one could say. Which in the end, of course, isn't hopelessness at all, because it only would seem hopeless from the one that thinks there is such a thing as hope. Of course, one could say it is total hopelessness, but there's just, I mean, yeah, this doesn't really make sense. One-sided hopelessness. In the chat, why does it feel like it is me writing these words? Well, there is no why, of course. This just is what appears to be happening. This apparent sense of location of me is just what appears to be happening. As in a body saying, why does it feel like it's me? It's just what appears to be happening. There is no actual me that is writing these words, or that feels as if it's writing these words, or whatever. Yeah.
Hey, Izzy.
Hello.
You know, scientists say that there are like billions of neurons inside our brain, right? So do you just for
Apparently.
apparently. So do you think it has anything to do with this sense of self, like due to the thousands of years of evolution, apparently, did it result in human beings having this sense of self due to this like cutthroat evolutionary process? Do you think it has any bearing on this illusion?
Well, of course not, no, because there is no sense of self. So, of course, there seem to be, within what so-called non-duality, of course, there seems to be some type of communication that says there is a sense of self that is an illusion. But of course, what this is suggesting is just there is also no illusion and there is no sense of self. So it would be totally impossible to say that anything caused this so-called sense of self, because there isn't one. So yeah, I mean, one just can't even go there. There just is no one. Okay, in the chat, do you mean that for an illusion to be, it would necessarily have to be for someone? Well, no, of course, this apparent illusion is the idea that there is someone. So, yeah, there doesn't have to be someone for there to then be an apparent illusion. The apparent illusion is that there is someone who could or could not have an illusion. I mean, this is what the apparent person seems to do upon hearing the words dream, illusion. It seems to then think that there is an illusion or a dream that is happening to me or that I am in. So it automatically creates two, me and the illusion or the dream. But neither exist. I mean, they're just all these words, illusion, me, know me. There just is what appears to be happening, sitting on Zoom, a body sitting on Zoom, asking Izzy questions, hearing the responses. Yeah. Yeah, in the chat. Sometimes when I travel, everything seems new and fresh. This thing starts happening while I'm in my neighborhood. Too nowadays, things are seen differently than ever. Everything is alive. Of course, yeah, one could say so. But of course, then there just is no experience of everything being new or fresh or alive. Yeah. Yeah, it's just what appears to be happening. This would just be another personal experience, one could say. I mean, what is neither new nor old. Just is what is. Of course, this sort of sense of it always being new would already perhaps imply time, that it's always renewing itself, or it's always fresh, or whatever. But it's beautiful to experience, though. Yeah. Okay. Do you think chimpanzees suffer from the illusion of having a self, or are they sages already? Well, I mean, of course, there seems to be this story, doesn't there, of that animals don't seem to have this apparent self-consciousness in this sense. This sense of being someone never arises. But of course, there's no one who knows this. This can't be confirmed either way. I mean, there is no self-consciousness at all. This is totally impossible. So, of course, if there was a chimpanzee claiming to have a sense of self, then that would also just be what appears to be happening. Just like an apparent human body, so to speak, claiming to have a sense of self. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem so common for chimpanzees to be claiming in this way. Or dogs or cats or whatever. But I mean, there just is no sense of self. There just is no self. There is no one. Animals seem like they are connected to some battery of beings. Not quite sure what you mean by battery of beings, but I mean, of course, animals, one could say, as I said, there doesn't seem to be this apparent claiming of self-consciousness, at least verbally, so to speak. So one could say they can seem like less of a, more relaxed, one could say. I won't say less of a nuisance, but connected with being, not meing. Well, of course, there is neither being nor meing. But as I say, one could say animals, as I say, don't seem to be claiming this apparent self-consciousness. No different, though, than a chair or a table or a plant. Just what appears to be happening. Which is what these apparent bodies are, just what appears to be happening. But these apparent bodies just seem to be saying that there's me on top of this, which of course there just isn't. Okay, hello Izzy and hello everyone. It's crazy because apparently there is one natural reality, but everything arises in there. Be someone I look like the most common apparently. I'm not sure on the last bit in brackets, but it's crazy because apparently there is one naturality, but everything arises in there. Well, of course, there isn't even one natural reality. I mean, one could say that, I know the words have been used before, and I think I've said that what is natural or what is the natural or what is naturally whole and complete, I think I sometimes say. But there is no actual natural reality that everything arises in, or that, to say that there is a reality already seems to imply that then is things that aren't real or whatever. There just is neither. There just is what appears to be happening. I mean, if one wants to call it a natural reality, then that's just what a label really that, one could say, just like what is or whatever. Yeah. Another one, did you say that there is no such thing as consciousness or awareness, and those are just part of the illusion? Exactly. There is no such thing as consciousness or awareness. Yeah. That there is a real consciousness or awareness, whether that's personal or impersonal, universal, whatever, is part of the same apparent illusion. The illusion that never happens. Yeah. This apparent awareness just seems to be another functioning of the apparent body. So apparent seeing, listening, apparent awareness, Zoom call, touching, tasting. But of course, there is no such thing as actual awareness, that there is anyone or something that is aware of this Zoom call. It just is an apparent seeing, just totally normal function of the body. So this is unknown and unpredictable. Of course, yeah. Yeah. What is has absolutely no knowledge of itself, no experience of itself, no awareness of itself. Just totally naturally itself, blindly itself. Yeah. Okay, well, this is wholeness. Sitting on Zoom, apparently sitting on Zoom for an hour or so with Izzy is whole and complete, naturally. Nothing needs to, nor possibly could be added or taken away for it to be more or less what it is. It doesn't arise to anyone, for anyone, or by anyone. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing deeper than it. There's nothing before it or after it. It just totally is what it is, what appears to be happening. Okay, so not next weekend, but the weekend after, the 15th and the 16th, I'm doing a Zoom weekend intensive, which will be 2 days of calls, basically just like this, obviously, but a bit longer, for about 4 hours a day, but split into 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. So everyone's welcome, of course, even if you're in America. Some people are just coming for the afternoons and stuff like this. So yeah, you can just send me an email. And the next meeting is on Wednesday next week at 6 p.m. British summertime, not GMT now, BST. Okay, everyone, thank you for coming. Take care.
Thanks, Izzy.
Thank you.
Might you do some live ones, some live meetings?
Sorry, say again.
Might you do some live meetings in the future?
There is one in Brighton coming up in end of July.
Oh,
Which I can send you the details, or they're all on the website as well.
okay.
And I might do something in London, and maybe like sort of a week or something like this. Yeah, potentially.
Oh, lovely.
Thank
you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
See you again.
Thanks, Izzy.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye.